Toxins are everywhere, unfortunately. Heavy metals is something else that I look at. Now keep in mind, everything in this presentation is what I do in my practice, and we've had, phenomenal success. But as you can see, toxins can penetrate all the way to the cellular level. Right? Mercury, lead, cadmium, aluminum, all of these heavy metals. Do you guys test heavy metals sometimes? Okay. Now, here's a very key point that you have to remember is it's not so much the bugs that make us sick. It's not the spirochetes. It's the toxins from these bacteria that make us sick. The microbial, endo, and exotoxins, right? First of all, they are all neurological toxins. Sorry. Then there is a central disruption in your endocrine system, your pineal gland, your hypothalamus, your pituitary. There is enzyme inhibition. There are major metabolic changes. Does anybody know what KPU is? KPU. This thing doesn't want to work. No, now it's working. Okay, this one. It's hemolactum cryptopyrolurea. You've heard of cryptopyrroles? No? Okay. It's a pretty major metabolic change that I see in patients with borreliosis that has to be addressed. Emotional problems, neurotransmitter depletion. Most of the times, SSRIs, antidepressant SSRIs, don't really work in patients with Lyme. But I've seen them repeatedly prescribed for patients with Lyme disease, for depression. It doesn't work. And I've asked quite a few psychiatrists that, sir, do you measure your patients' neurotransmitters before you attempt to increase the serotonin? Why are you increasing the serotonin? Is it depleted? No, I just want to make the patient happy. Understood. But is it depleted? We don't know because we don't run neurotransmitters. That is really, according to me, that is a mistake, because you need to know what the neurotransmitter status is in your patient before you start giving medications that change the neurotransmitter balance in the brain. I mean, we are dealing with the brain. Hormonal imbalances, and you always need to address heavy metals, xenobiotics, thioethers, and root-filled teeth. There is more, right? There is a few other things that come into play. Don't want to overwhelm you now. I'm sure you're already overwhelmed, but
Can you please comment further like KPU?
I will. I will. Yeah. I'm going to talk about KPU in treatment, in detail, what it is. Yeah. Okay, so keep in mind, the bacteria the tick may have eaten. All of these, Anaplasma, Brucella, Rickettsia. Powassan virus is an emerging infection that is being seen more and more. And that is proving to be, has proven to be deadly so far in the United States. We've seen it in the New England states. Especially when there is moisture and rain, that makes the ticks more powerful. If it is a dry climate, lot of sunshine, the ticks just desiccate. They cannot live in a dry environment. Bacteria we may have eaten, right? This is not just applicable to kids, it's applicable to us as well. The Clostridia, the Strep, the Staph, the Myco, the Chlamydia, the Lepto. Important to also look at parasitic co-infections. I have found these in my patients: roundworms, tapeworms, threadworms, toxo, giardia, amoeba, flukes. Some are gifted to you by the restaurants you eat at. My patients, one of the advice they get from me, and I follow that advice myself, is I don't eat any uncooked food at a restaurant. I don't eat salads at all at restaurants. And, it's just a rule of thumb that I follow when I travel, or when I'm home. I rarely eat at restaurants anyways, but you have to be careful. It's very difficult to eradicate parasites. And Dr. Klinghardt talks about this, is that the little guys hide inside the big guys. The little guys being Lyme disease and co-infections, they will hide inside the big parasites. So that is one of the reasons for the Herxheimer reactions that we see in patients with Lyme disease. We will talk about this more, don't worry. This is just an intro. These are some of the other things that are living inside you already. Okay, people, it's very important to figure out who the toxic people are in your life. Okay, it could be a friend, a family member. If you're suffering from Lyme disease, if you're not getting better, start getting rid of toxic people. Say bye-bye. Either you become understanding, either you try to be supportive, be nice, or you can just say goodbye. Just please be kind to yourself if others are not being kind to you. That is very important, because for each emotional issue that you're dealing with, the body, okay, let me backtrack. For each unresolved emotional problem, whatever it might be, your son, your daughter, your friend, any unresolved emotional conflict, for each one, your body will hold on to 10 times the amount of toxins. So it kind of piggybacks on emotional toxins. This is, again, German research that shows us what happens with emotional toxins. So it's very important to have good people and good support, a lot of positivity, a lot of light around you when you're trying to heal. Toxic thoughts, meditation is very helpful. And any kind of negativity will affect your getting better. It's very difficult for mothers. Everybody blames the mother. Oh, she must have done something wrong. So everybody blames the mom. So it's very difficult. So for you mothers out there, don't let that happen. Just be firm, be strong, and trust in your maternal instinct. Don't let people distract you from trying to heal your child. I can't tell you how many distractors I had. Well, Jody, Brian is on the spectrum. Why don't you accept it? Move on. You need to accept. You need to be a little bit more open-minded. I'm like, yeah, I need to be open-minded. I know there is something going on underneath. This is not your typical autism. There is something going on. And then, what happened? I had like 25 friends. Now I have 2. And I think I'm better off. I think, and I have a child that's completely recovered. So what was more important, 23 best friends or a fully recovered child? I think, everybody knows the answer. So you will, for each relapse of Lyme disease, it'll become pretty obvious who your real friends and family are, who really cares about you. And then, all the others is just riffraff. You're just better off without them anyways. So the emotional part is very important. Okay. Borrelia and co-infections, this is what causes ongoing inflammation. This is why inflammation doesn't come down, right? Because there is in multiple compartments of the body and the brain, right? They are intracellular, extracellular, inside the organs. Then they have immune suppression, immune evasion. Ultimately, immune system gives up. It's just tired. And what happens then? When the immune system is exhausted, you end up with autoimmune issues. Chronic oxidative stress. Yes, it's important to look at mitochondrial dysfunction. If we are going to recover from the immense fatigue that is experienced by people with Lyme. Speaking of fatigue, I'm getting there. So this is the last slide, and then we'll take a break. Okay, so parasites, they invade your B and T cells. It shuts down your immune response and interferes with your natural killer cells and the antibody response. Okay, so let's think about that as we go to break. And we'll come back in what, like 15 minutes? 5 minutes? Oh, we come back at 11. Okay, perfect. Good. Okay, so I'll see you guys. Well, try to come back like 5 minutes before 11, okay, so we can get started. So we're not behind, because we started late.